So, conferences like this remind me of why it's important to ask ourselves, what does it mean to be educated? Some of us went to schools with classrooms that use a traditional model, where the teacher sat in front of the classroom, most likely at the tables in rows, with yellowing notes, and talking to each other. And next slide, please. And most likely, they also, repeated their lessons every year after year after year after year. Like imparting knowledge in one direction and requiring students to regurgitate facts. This was seen as a good education. Raise your hand if you sat in classrooms like this at some point. Yeah? Listen to this, learn this, take this test, and do it like this. Regurgitate the facts. Yeah, this model is changing. Currently, some trends include STEM programs or focusing on the arts as much as maths. Yeah, so then it turns into STEAM, creativity, inclusivity, bilingualism, multilingualism, IT integration, design integration, smaller class sizes, multi-age groups, classrooms without walls, classrooms in forests, differentiated learning, project-based learning. I could go on. And what do we end up with? We end up with frustrated teachers that are overwhelmed. Teaching trends come, teaching trends go. And at some point, someone, whether it be at a national, domestic, private, public school, someone's making a decision about what it means to be educated. In an increasing global world, educators have rapidly changing complex challenges. In Berlin, conversations include how we're going to be inclusive, with kids with learning difficulties and increasingly international global mobile families. So we have to ask ourselves, what is important to know? Whose history do we teach? If we just teach to the facts, that is a vast plane of knowledge. It's impossible to cover. It's an overcrowded curriculum. Not to mention that facts at your fingertips. However, when you have a good concept, that sticks around. And even if it improves and morphs and it becomes a more sophisticated version of itself, for example, the concept of the internet or the wheel, and this is why I think teaching to concepts is important, because concepts transfer over time, cultures, and situations. So knowledge that requires application in different contexts. Whilst preparing to speak here, I looked at an ICT curriculum from the past. It was published by UNESCO in 2002, and it said, using the computer and managing files. It said students should be able to use a computer competently, produce posters and banners and other such things. Nearly 15 years later, and school kids are coding, they're learning about robotics, and they're seamlessly using touchscreens. My 2-year-old wants to swipe our TV, and my 7-year-old hacked his password for his device. So if a curriculum is worth knowing, it needs to keep up with the times, when learning goals need to be concept-based, because concepts are timeless. We need to engage learners in different types of thinking to prepare them for a changing job market and increasingly complex global issues. Thinking conceptually is not easy. It's hard work, and because we need to connect between the facts and the big ideas. This raises our intellect. As kids move through schooling, emphasis is on the facts. Conceptual thinking takes a downturn. This creates what the Swiss-German educator Peter Fraten calls Wissensriesen und Realisierungszwergen, knowledge giants and implementation dwarfs. Do we need more trivia winners or critical thinkers? Who would you hire? Even in project-based schools, topic trivia-based units such as this grade 1 topic on animals can be fun. Teachers plan projects, they teach through inquiry-based practices. That's good, but good isn't good enough. I want great. And teaching, even though it's hard to do this, because we need thinking teachers as well as thinking students, if we add the concept of classification and characteristics to the animal topic, then this unit's now going to focus on classification. So we can study the classification of colors, of instruments, of actual animals in science, and we're teaching to conceptual understanding that will hopefully transfer. Conceptual engagement goes up. Factual knowledge also is learned. And I hope that they will then transfer it and come home. Maybe my son will classify clothing from our wardrobe. One can only hope. Learning looks more like this. When thinking students, we create thinking leaders of tomorrow. Even though such a curriculum is difficult, it's happening around the globe and in international schools, here in Berlin also. I'm committed to concept-based learning because I think it's a way forward for our kids, my kids. Educator Ken Robinson said, what you're doing now or have done in the past need not determine what you can do next in the future. I aim to be a person who supports thinking students for a thinking future. Thank you.